Good morning, students, and welcome back to our online chemistry class. We are doing chemical reactions, and in this chapter until now we have learned about different types of chemical reactions. Now we have come to know that we can classify chemical reactions in two ways. One is a chemical reaction can be classified on the basis of formation of or on the basis of type of reaction, how the reactants, their ions, their composition, they change. On the basis of the change in the composition of substances, of reactants, chemical reactions are classified into four categories. What are they? They are combination reaction, decomposition reactions, displacement reactions, and double displacement reactions. And under double displacement reactions we also learned precipitation reaction and neutralization reaction. Now in our last class we also learned classification of chemical reaction based on heat energy involved. On the basis of heat energy involved, there are two types of chemical reactions. They are exothermic reactions and endothermic reaction. Exothermic reactions are those reactions in which heat is evolved or heat energy is produced, whereas endothermic reactions are those reactions in which heat energy is absorbed, heat energy is taken in from the surroundings. So these are the different ways of classifying chemical reactions and the different types of chemical reactions that we have learned. Now in our today's class we are going to learn about oxides. So let us first see what do we mean by oxides. So oxides are chemical compounds that contains at least one oxygen atom combined with another element. So what do we mean by this definition? So if a compound is formed by combining two different elements, now out of these two elements which forms compound, one must be oxygen and the other can be any other element. So suppose if we have any other element A. Now if this A element combines with oxygen, oxygen, and produces AO compound, then these type of compounds where one element is oxygen and another element can be any other element, then such type of compounds are called oxides. Now this one we are sure one element is oxygen, so another element can be any element. It can be metal also, it can be non-metal also. Metals such as, let's say, sodium, magnesium, copper, zinc. So when these metals they combine with oxygen, they produce metal oxide. So here A can be metal and we already know oxygen is non-metal. So oxygen being non-metal can also combine with another non-metal, for example sulfur. So if oxygen combines with sulfur, it will form sulfur dioxide. So sulfur dioxide is also a oxide. Nitrogen can also combine with oxygen, forming nitric oxide. Therefore oxides are those compounds which contains at least one oxygen atom. There can be more than one oxygen atom also, but at least there has to be one oxygen atom combined with any other element, and any other element can be metal or non-metal. Is that clear, boys? So let's see what we have in our book. Now oxides are formed, which I have already told you, oxides are formed when metals or non-metals reacts with oxygen in the air. So if there is a reaction of metals or non-metals with oxygen, then that particular reaction leads to the formation of oxides. Now oxides are chemical compounds. Okay, for example, when we burn magnesium ribbon, burning of magnesium ribbon produces another compound called magnesium oxide. So burning of magnesium ribbon is a chemical reaction which produces oxides, and the oxide is magnesium oxide. Okay, so I hope I am clear about oxides and how they are produced. Oxides are produced when metals or non-metals reacts with oxygen in the air. So now let us see some different methods by which we can prepare oxides. So let's see first method, that is by direct combination of metals and non-metals with oxygen. So this is also called synthesis, direct combination. Now remember the different types of chemical reactions which we did: direct combination, synthesis. So this is, if you want to make metal oxide, then we have to take metal, any particular metal which we want metal, then we need oxygen. So if we combine these two directly, they will produce the corresponding oxide. So let's take example, magnesium. When we burn magnesium, burning of magnesium means it is the reaction of magnesium with oxygen. So when we burn magnesium, then what we will get? Magnesium oxide. So this is known as oxide. Oxide of what? Magnesium. Is that clear? So one element is oxygen and another element is metal, over here magnesium. So this is reaction of metals with oxygen. Let's see reaction of non-metals with oxygen. We all have seen carried out this experiment, burning coal. So when we burn coal, now what chemical reaction is going over there? We are burning carbon with the help of oxygen. So it is the reaction of carbon. Carbon is a non-metal, and oxygen is also a non-metal. So when carbon reacts with oxygen, it produces carbon dioxide. So this is a compound. This is a compound of carbon and contains 2 oxygen atoms. Therefore, since one of the element is oxygen and the other is non-metal carbon, this is also an oxide. This is an oxide of carbon. So oxide of carbon formed over here is carbon dioxide. So this method is called direct combination of metals and non-metals with oxygen. Let's move to another method by which we can prepare oxides. Okay, so another method which we are going to learn over here is decomposition of metal carbonates. Now we have already learned about decomposition. Decomposition means breaking down of one substance into 2 substances. Now this decomposition can be brought or started with the help of thermal energy, heat energy. Therefore, this particular method of forming metal carbonate or oxide is known as thermal decomposition. Why thermal? Because heat energy is needed. So thermal decomposition of what type of compounds? Metal carbonates. Carbonates are compounds containing CO3 group. Okay, so metal, there has to be one metal, any metal. So metal containing carbonate group or radical is known as metal carbonates. So let's take example of calcium carbonate. This is a metal carbonate. So what is the metal over here? Calcium, and we have carbonate group over here. So metal carbonate, calcium carbonate, which is also called limestone. So when we apply heat to calcium carbonate, it breaks down into two compounds. That means it decomposes into two compounds, forming calcium oxide plus carbon dioxide. So here we have two types of oxides. This is metal oxide, calcium oxide, and we also have non-metal oxide, which is carbon dioxide. So the thermal decomposition of calcium carbonate produces two types of oxides. They are calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Let's take another example also. Metal carbonates. Lead carbonate. So here the metal is lead, and we have carbonate group over here. So when we apply heat to this lead carbonate compound, it undergoes thermal decomposition to produce again two types of oxides. What are they? Metal oxide. Here it will be lead oxide, and again carbon dioxide, which is a non-metal oxide. So this is another way by which we can prepare oxides of both metal as well as non-metal. So remember, thermal decomposition of metal carbonates will produce two types of oxides: metal oxide and non-metal oxides. Let's move on to third process by which we can make oxides, and that is by thermal decomposition of metal nitrates. So nitrates means compounds having NO3 group, and again it has to be metal. So metal having NO3 group, nitrate group, are known as metal nitrates. Again, what is the process? It is decomposition brought about by heat energy. So it is a thermal decomposition. That means we have to heat the reactant. Let's take example. Lead nitrate. Lead nitrate, on heating, it will produce three types of substances, products. What are they? It will produce metal oxide, lead oxide. It produces non-metal oxide, which is here nitrogen dioxide, and it will also produce oxygen. So when we heat metal nitrates, we will get two types of metal oxide along with oxygen. Let's see another example also. Magnesium nitrate. So magnesium nitrate is a metal nitrate. So when we heat this magnesium nitrate, we will get two types of oxides, metal oxide and non-metal oxide, along with oxygen. The metal oxide produced in this particular case is magnesium oxide. Non-metal oxide is nitrogen dioxide and oxygen gas. So in this way we can again produce oxides of metals as well as non-metals. The last method which we are going to see over here is the thermal decomposition of metal sulfates. Again, sulfates means compound containing SO4 group. So again, metal means, so there has to be one metal, any metal. So when metal sulfates are heated, thermal decomposition, it undergoes decomposition or breaks down into three substances or products. What are they? It produces metal oxide, okay, it produces sulfur dioxide, and it also produces sulfur trioxide. Let's take example over here. This is metal sulfate, iron 2 sulfate. When iron 2 sulfate is heated, it decomposes to give three products, and they are metal oxide. So metal here is iron, so iron 2 oxide, iron 3. You have to crisscross the valency of iron, you will get the product. So iron 3 oxide. You will also get sulfur dioxide, SO2. You have two oxygen over here, so it is dioxide, along with sulfur trioxide. Tri means 3, so there are 3 oxygen atoms. So sulfur trioxide. So when we heat metal sulfates, we'll get 3 products. They are metal oxide, sulfur dioxide, and sulfur trioxide. Now can you tell me what type of oxides are formed over here? Correct. There are 2 types of oxides formed over here, and they are one metal oxide. This is metal oxide, and these two are both non-metal oxides, and non-metal over here is sulfur in both cases. Let's see another example. When lead oxide is heated, now lead oxide undergoes thermal decomposition to produce lead monoxide plus oxygen. So here we are heating one oxide containing higher number of oxygen. So when we heat this oxide containing a higher number of oxygen, we will get oxide of the same metal but with lower number of oxygen atoms along with oxygen gas. So this is also thermal decomposition. So when we heat them, this particular lead oxide containing higher number of oxygen atom, it will decompose to give metal oxide containing lower number of oxygen atom along with oxygen gas. Okay boys, so this much for today's session. So in our today's session we have learned about oxides and methods of preparing oxides of metals as well as non-metals. And what are those different methods? Direct combination of metals and non-metals with oxygen, that is first method. Second method is by the thermal decomposition of metal carbonates. Okay. Third process is by the thermal decomposition of metal nitrates, and fourth process is by the thermal decomposition of metal sulfates. I suggest you to please refer to your book, read all the different ways by which we can prepare oxides, write the balanced chemical equations, practice it writing and balance them on your own, and also do today's writing assignment. This much for today boys. Stay safe and do all things well.